All eyes are on the Fed. Are they going to be increasing their interest rate hikes above and beyond that of what is expected? Or are they going to just bottle it once again, do a 0.25 or even potentially pivot? In this video, we're going to be jumping down to the on-chain metrics for Bitcoin. We're jumping into the charts, taking a look at Elliott Wave theory, smart money concepts, and a bigger macro view for Bitcoin, taking a look at what we think is likely to happen here just by the setups of the structure of price action. Now, as I get into this video, if you find it useful and informative, smash that like button. I really do appreciate that. If you happen to be new to the channel, then why not go ahead and subscribe, tap the bell, select all the notifications, and in doing so, you will be kept up to date with everything that we do here at Cheeky Crypto. If you haven't yet joined us in Discord, check it out, linked in the description down below. It's a fantastic community talking crypto 24/7. It's completely free, and I don't think you'll be disappointed by what you find down there, so why not go ahead and check it out. And with all that said, done out of the way, let's jump right down into this one, right? So I think what we'll do is we'll start with the on-chain metrics and then jump on down into the charts from there. So let's just take a look at what was going on recently here. Okay, so we can see top three boxes up here. Okay, top right-hand corner, I should say. Inflows are 2.4629 million since the 1st of January 2023, and the outflows are 2.4162 million since the 1st of January. That means that there's positive of 46,660 Bitcoin hitting the exchanges and staying on the exchanges. Okay, this basically means that there's a lot more supply available to purchase now than there was essentially back in December. Okay, so we've seen price action move and flying to the upside, but we've also seen a lot of people rushing to put their Bitcoin onto the exchanges and make it available to be sold. Now, obviously, that last part is speculation. All we really know here, taking a look at these numbers, is that Bitcoin's gone from an off-chain or an off-exchange wallet to an on-exchange wallet. Okay, so we can see that there's a flow of Bitcoin going to the exchange wallets. So the question becomes, why is so many people pushing Bitcoin back towards the exchanges, right? And it's interesting because you can see exactly where that comes from. Everything is on-chain, and for any newbies out there, everything is transparent. Essentially, what you can do with Bitcoin is you can see where everybody has their money and how much it is and where it's going and all that kind of stuff. It's not, anonymous or anything like that. And that's all kind of wild speculation from way back in the day. And unfortunately, everything can be traced and tracked online. So we know how many wallets have certain amounts of Bitcoin in them, and we know how those wallets are going down, and we see inflows elsewhere. We can start to see that Bitcoin's essentially flowing from certain wallets over into exchange-based wallets. And these are important things because everything when it comes to price movements comes down to supply and demand. And if you have significant amount of supply drowning out the demand, well, price has a tendency to go down. And likewise, when supply is short or shrinking and demand is increasing, well, then you have a recipe for a bull market, and obviously price will be going up under those circumstances. So right now we are seeing this bearish situation up here because we see more Bitcoin available to be bought and more supply, less demand, essentially. Okay, now it's possible that demand spikes up again and tries to take away some of this Bitcoin off the exchanges, but if we can see down here on our line graph, the supply has been outpacing that of the demand, right? And we look at this because we think that if someone buys Bitcoin, they're more than likely going to withdraw it and hold it into their own self-custody wallet. Now, this is not a guarantee. There are a lot of retail investors out there that do not use self-custody wallets, and I think that's incredibly risky. So, you read into that as you will. But yeah, as we can kind of see, a lot more Bitcoin has been going onto the exchanges. That's visible from these line graphs. It's also visible from the raw numbers at the top there. Let's go ahead and take a look at those inflows and outflows on the line graph. Right, so when we take a look at this, we can see how these numbers are just dancing around with each other, and we can see these massive spikes of inflows to exchanges, right, outpacing that of any withdrawals from the exchanges. Okay, and we can see this has been pretty consistent. Now, it started to come back down again, and we actually had a little bit more withdrawals yesterday than we had going on. So 37,000 Bitcoin comes off and 35,000 Bitcoin goes on. So there's a difference of 2,000 Bitcoin between the two, right? So we can kind of see that in there. Minor, but it's a good movement in the right direction. Now, when we talk about wallets, we can see the different sized wallets, and when I say size, I mean the amount of Bitcoin held inside that wallet, and whether or not the number of wallets that hold said amount of Bitcoin is increasing, right? So on this line graph here, we have Bitcoin Dust, which is basically a wallet that has over 0.01 BTC in it, right? And we can see that there's an uptick here. Okay, so we can see that there's an increase in the number of wallets that have 𝗕𝗓𝗠𝗠𝗘 BTC in them. Okay, this basically means that there are some pockets of retail investors that have accumulated and have taken away from the exchanges. And we can see here that it's 11,683,821 or 11,683,821 wallets that have over 0.01 Bitcoin, right? And we can see that over here it was 11.4 million, up here it's 11.6 million. There was each one of these, by the way, guys, is one day. Okay, this is just a daily graph. There was some wild speculation out there saying that we'd grown 1 million wallets in one day, right? And actually looking at this, if we did, it had to be less than 0.01 Bitcoin, right, in that wallet. So from anything meaningful, no, we haven't had that kind of surge to the upside. So yeah, it's interesting, right? We can see that there's retailers at the real vulnerable low level starting to buy up a little bit of Bitcoin here. And unfortunately, this is as a retailer has a tendency to buy the tops and sell the bottoms, right? And I can go and show you that by taking a look at the other retail size wallets. Here we have 3 different size wallets, right? We have 𝗘𝗘𝗪, shrimp, and dolphins, right? So over 0.1 Bitcoin over here on the krill side, shrimps are over 1 Bitcoin, and dolphins are over 10 Bitcoin. Okay, and we can see that up here, okay, we saw a little bit of a pullback and then a bit of a surge to the upside. So if I hover above this, you can see the price was $22,000, right? And this is USD, not USDT or anything like that. And we can see that they were selling during that $22,000 peak right there. And then what they do? They're now buying at $27,000, right? We can see this surge upwards as price has also gone up. Okay, so we can see and we acknowledge that retail investors have been acting emotionally. Again, selling here at $22,000 and then buying up here at $27,000. Likewise with our dolphins over here, they were selling at $24,000 and they started to buy up at 27,000, right? So we can see that they are not doing what you would expect, right? Because the idea, the very simplistic concept is buy low, sell high. Yet here we have an example of retail investors selling low and buying high. Okay, and it's because they're acting emotionally and not logically. And so we know that there's a lot of retail kind of coming back into the market here, kind of pushing price a little bit, or trying to follow the price action, but they're not doing a terribly good job at it, in my opinion. So that means that retail's kind of building up their positions again, at least at the lower level, right? You can kind of see here an uptick with the 0.1 Bitcoin wallets, and over this side with the 1 Bitcoin wallets, right? We can see a little bit of a surge to the upside, which means if these guys are buying, then someone's got to be selling Bitcoin to them, right? Because you can't just magically have a wallet increasing or a number of wallets increasing if someone else's wallets are not decreasing, right? This is a balance. Okay, it's everything balanced as it perfectly should be, and essentially what we end up with is where there's a buyer, there's also a seller, and where there's a seller, there's also a buyer, right? These things have to marry up. So that's where the institutional level wallets really come into play, and we can take a look and say, okay, well, if retail is buying, then we can't see anyone else within that kind of bracket selling, then, well, we've got to find the sellers, right? And here we can see them. So up this side, we can see we've got Bitcoin sharks. This is over 100 Bitcoin. We have the whales, which are over 1,000 Bitcoin, and the kraken, which is over 10,000 Bitcoin. And what do we see here? Well, we can see that the sharks are coming out of their positions. Okay, they bought down here. For example, they were buying at $21,000, right? It's not a coincidence that these guys were buying while retail was selling, by the way. And then we can see that they're selling up here at $25,000, and you can see them coming out of their positions. And you can see that they've actually been coming out of their position for quite some time. And this is pretty normal considering they were buying in December during those lows of November, ahead of the massive spike to the upside. And it's a straight line for these guys going up. In fact, let me just show you what that looked like if I change our date range here. I'm going to make it 180 days. That should hopefully do it. There we go. You can see how these guys, let me just get rid of that. There we go. We can see how these guys surged up here. Okay, you can see how they bought before the pump to the upside. And all they've been doing is taking profits, right? So you can see how these guys were able to predict the DXY, the changes with the dollar, and were able to jump into Bitcoin ahead of time, and now they've been coming out of their positions as they ride this up to the top end here. So it's interesting kind of stuff. Now, from our whale side of things, we can see that they have also taken a little bit of a pullback here after a recent surge upwards. So again, I think these guys are actually manipulating the price. And I said this before, when we take a look at the charts, we are stacking up these fair value gaps, and I think it's been driven from these guys here. The Kraken also came down a wallet. I'm not too concerned about one wallet when it comes to 10,000 Bitcoin or more, but I'm more concerned about the longer kind of term view on this one. So let's go ahead and just put this back to 90 days so that we can keep analysis consistent. And what I'll do is I'll move on into showing you what happened in 2018. I've said about this pretty much consistently and all the time, but nonetheless, here you have your retail investors, right? The over 1 Bitcoin wallets. They were told that this was the bottom, so they were buying. They were told, no, this is the bottom. It's definitely in now, right? Everyone else doesn't know what they're talking about. The bottom is definitely in. And then we had this one. No, definitely. We hit it 3 times. The bottom is definitely now in. And you can see every single time that these guys are just buying up these dips, right? Because they believe that the bottom was in. It wasn't until this point over here where they realized, actually, no, this probably isn't going in the direction that we think it's going. We're not going to the moon. We're not going to $100,000 Bitcoin or whatever they were talking about back in 2018. But instead, what do you see? You start seeing faith getting lost, lots of FUD, and basically people coming out of their Bitcoin positions. These retailers are selling, but price is going sideways. And you'd be thinking, well, if these guys are selling, shouldn't price be tanking to the downside? And well, you'd think that, but then you have to consider that there's always a buyer on the other side of that trade. And you can see that up here, this is where the 1,000 Bitcoin wallets, or 1,000 BTC in a wallet, and the count of these wallets were increasing during this flat period right here. This is because retail investors were selling. Let me actually put that back. There we go. Retail investors were selling, and we have whale investors buying. Okay, so we know that basically what's going on here is there's a balancing game, but then price does pull to the downside. And you think, if this was balanced out, why did price go down here if all of that retail Bitcoin was flowing into the whales wallets? And well, that takes us into the Kraken. The Kraken is a wallet that manipulates the price action at the most highest level possible, right? We can see that during the bear market, they accumulated with one purpose and one purpose in mind: to drag that market right the way down. And so you can see right down here that this Kraken-sized wallet that had over 10,000 Bitcoin in it was basically the sole reason that we actually had this last little drop to the downside, right? We started to pull back down once they started selling it around here, okay, significant amounts. And then obviously here, you can see this major drop to the downside. The good news is that we did see a significant surge to the upside with the whale wallet. So it makes me wonder, were these two working in conjunction with each other to try and drag that market down into those final lows? And this is not necessarily a selling pressure. This is potentially just flooding the market with excess supply to drag the price down. And then, of course, it just reverses back up again. It's interesting kind of stuff to keep an eye on. And this is the stuff that we'd like to do and like to keep an eye on the channel, right? And there's lots of people arguing, whether or not this is meaningful analysis or not. I'd like to think about it in a pretty straightforward way. This is where we currently sit when it comes to whale investors, right? And it's hard to think that price can meaningfully go up in any significant way without significant backing from large institutional level investors. And when I say this, I don't mean that it has to be an institution. I mean, it has to be someone with a significant amount of money that is able to move the needle very significantly. And usually when you have a group of individuals that are billionaires and are able to hold Bitcoin for a significant period of time, shrinking that supply and basically allowing Bitcoin to surge up before flooding the market with excess Bitcoin, bringing the price back down again. I think that essentially what we've got going on here is exactly what we've seen time and time again. Until the whale investors are coming into the market, I don't think price really has a chance of really rallying up that high without some outside factor, such as hyperinflation, for example. Okay, there are always outliers, there are always possibilities, but the fundamental analysis here is essentially that big money has not entered into this space. And until big money does, we can't really get too carried away thinking that price action is going to be taking us to $100,000 or $1 million without the kind of backing from these kind of investors. Unless, of course, the US dollar does absolutely crumble down to no value whatsoever, and in which case you can have $1 million Bitcoin, but you're not going to want the $1 million. So it's kind of, robbing Peter to pay Paul, because it's not really something that you're going to want under those circumstances. What you want is the dollar or a currency that you're going to be trading Bitcoin with to be strong, and then you want the demand to increase whilst the supply is shrinking. So you need to see these retail investors really coming in order to allow us to kind of get that growth that we really want to see within Bitcoin, right? So at the moment, to me, the actual on-chain data is being, or at least depicting, a very bearish situation for Bitcoin and cryptocurrency. Now, you might not like that because when you look at the price action, things look like they're very bullish, but essentially the on-chain data is the on-chain data, and that's how I read it. So let me know what your thoughts are on that in the comments below. Let's jump down into the charts, right? This is my expectations on BTC, okay? And here we can see some interesting things that have been set up. So this is rather complicated, but I'll try to explain it the best I can. Here we have Elliott wave theory, okay, and we're tracking a potential 5-wave move to the upside. Now, this is no guarantee that we're in a 5-wave structure. This is based on the fact that we had a 5-wave structure here, okay, and this little tiny correction right in the middle here is really small. Okay, we can see that we have a 5-3-5-3-5, 3 down, and then another 5-3-5-3-5, 5-3-5-5-5, and so forth. And we ended up with a situation here with a zigzag, okay, a zigzag. And what I'm looking for is a double zigzag. And this double zigzag potentially takes us up into this higher range of around $30,000 to $31,000, okay? Now, with this, we can see that there's a lot of sub counts going on. Now, it's possible that we've already completed the double zigzag right up here, okay? And that high just there, let me just go ahead and grab this on. It's a local high at the moment, 28,472. Okay, that is possible that we've just already completed this double zigzag, but I'm speculating that we haven't, based on the fact that I would expect it to be up here based on the size of everything. So I think this could be a 5, down in 3, up in 5, down in 3, up in 5, and all of that would then be marking a 3-wave. And then we come down into a wave 4 and then a wave 5. So there's a lot of things going on in here at the moment. I think we've done a wave 2. I think we've come down. Sorry, if we've done a wave 1, we've completed a wave 1. I think we're coming down, finished the wave 2 right here. We're in another potential wave 2 before we surge up into that little wave 3, then 4, then 5, and so forth. So there's a lot of sub counting going on in here, but my expectation is that we actually should be going upwards. And in order to kind of keep that in line and make sure that we're not, doing ourselves a disservice or anything like that, then we're going to want to stay above this level, which will be 27,303. I wouldn't call it a complete invalidation at that point, because it's still possible that we're in a bigger wave 2. So true invalidation in my mind would be down here at 27,124. If we come down lower than that, then I can say that double zigzag's probably already completed and we don't have to worry about any further price action to the upside under that structure. We'd have to analyze what else was going on. But I do think that that's the most likely scenario, that we do push up and we do hit that kind of 30K area of resistance, and then we get hit hard to the downside from there. Now, obviously, with the Fed and their interest rate decision, that could mean that if we're not up here by 30K, we could, or up here by then at 30K, then we might see the Fed decision actually take us up into significant highs from this, or alternatively fail to hit this and drop down. And let me know what your thoughts are on the rate decision. I think they should be doing 0.5 or 0.75 if they actually want to, battle inflation. I don't think they will, because I think they will bottle what needs to be done. Like, you need to rip the band-aid off, in my opinion, just get it done. It'll be brutal, it'll be harsh, lots of people will be suffering for it, I get it, but the consequences of not doing it is also rather quite severe. So it's one of those, you're going to kick this can down the road. How long are you going to kick it down the road for before you really realize you buggered things up? So personally, I think they should just go with it, just rip the band-aid off, do a 0.5 or a 0.75, and we can just kind of crack on. And yes, it'll be difficult for a lot of people, but I think it's probably better to kind of go through the pain now than it would be to kind of prolong an inevitable pain that might last for a lot longer and drive us down into very significant issues across the globe, right? So yeah, that's kind of what I think. But let me know what your thoughts are. Do you think it's going to be 0.25? Do you think it'll just do nothing? Do you think it'll pivot? Like, there's anything can happen here, essentially, and it will have an impact on price action, essentially. So failure to kind of hit 30K before could be really, really interesting for structures of Elliott wave theory. Let's jump over to Smart Money Concepts. And Smart Money Concepts has got ourselves a bit of a bullish setup at the moment. We can not only see that our change of character here, our break of structure here, or our CTS indicating that we're bullish. So on our hourly chart, that's looking pretty good. But we also have a minor change right here at the top. There's a lot of buying right down here. You can kind of see that there's internal order blocks right in here, and right in here, right down that equilibrium. Again, these are just algorithmically driven, as in where are the swing lows and where people are likely to put their buy orders. It's not actually buy orders. Helps you understand exactly kind of where people might be doing it. So it gives you an idea, but it's not something you kind of say that's guaranteed. Now, the issues that I have with the setups here. So we have a change of character here, a minor one, so we might see that move to the upside. There is the obvious, and the obvious is something that not a lot of people tend to talk about here. And let me find my parallel channel right in there. Okay, so our obvious issue is that we are in a higher high, higher low situation. Now, this is incredibly bearish. Okay, so I think we have that ability to push up into that range and tap the top end of this. But at the same time, this is a ticking time bomb for a collapse. So whether or not we can push up into that 30K, we need to be cautious here, probably more than anything else, right? If time progresses and we get closer and closer to the Fed rate decision, I'm not going to want to be in a position, right? So if I am going to be going long, which I am in a long position on Bitcoin at the moment, I entered into this yesterday at approximately around here, right? So I'll be looking at trying to take this up towards the 30K, but as time progresses, I will take it on the chin if I need to, because I don't think I want to be exposed to a long position whilst that decision is kind of being made. Okay, so I think I'd rather wait for the dust to settle and then make more informative, less gambling based trading ideas off the back of the decision. So essentially, I'm going to ride this for a few more hours, see where it goes. My expectation is to try to push it up to 30K from a long position. Now, if you are a trader and you haven't yet signed up to BitGet, check it out, linked in the description down below. It is my go-to platform for trading at the moment. I think it's fantastic. They got some fantastic offers as well. They're doing a cashback offer where you deposit $50 USDT. And you'll get $10 USDT back. And they also do deposit and reward bonuses all the way up to $8,000. And they also do some lucky draws as well. So if you haven't already checked it out, do check it out. Linked in the description down below. It's my go-to platform for all trading and spot trading as well. So if you're a spot trader where you just like buy and hodl, also check out BitGet. There's fantastic cryptocurrencies there, and they're adding more very, very frequently as well. Now, above that and beyond that, we're also doing a competition for the Cheeky Crypto community down in our Discord server, where we offer $100 per week, every single week, to the person who is using our BitGet link in the description below, and the person who has the best ROI percentage for the week, right? So if you've got the best ROI percentage, you'll win $100. So it's a week-long competition. This one particularly is running for another 4 days, 8 hours at the point of recording this video, and then it resets on a Monday, and you'll have another opportunity to participate in another weekly competition. It's going to happen every single week. We're looking to increase the prize pool over time. It really depends how popular these competitions become. The more popular they are, the bigger the prize pool. I would like to get this up to like 10K a week. That would be fantastic. But in order for that to happen, we'll need to be able to kind of grow the community and obviously grow the participants in the competition. We want it to kind of pay for itself ideally. So yeah, do check that out. I think it's going to be fantastic for as many people to kind of get involved if they are traders. Obviously, you have to learn a little bit about trading. It's not for newbies, and there is some paper trading available also on BitGet, so you can do some practicing there as well. So if you haven't already, check it out. So yeah, that's kind of my expectations here. I'm in a long position. I entered somewhere around here. My stop loss is right on the swing low. My expectation is to kind of take this towards that kind of 30K area. So risk reward ratio is there, but I won't be in it for too long if essentially this is dragging its heels a little bit. So that's kind of where that sits. And I do think this is a bearish take. So equilibrium is fair game. If we do hit that 30K, I would be expecting us to kind of pull back down to 26. And if the interest rate decision is much worse than people are thinking, 0.5, 0.75 or whatever, then we might actually just drop way below equilibrium and get a bearish change of character here on our hourly chart as well. So interesting kind of stuff from that standpoint. From our macro, we're right up in our supply zone or potential supply zone. It's not confirmed yet. This is a previous demand area going into a potential supply area. This is basically between 26,700 and 28,800. So you can see that we're right side inside this area here. So getting hit back down from this area is also something that we should consider ultimately for BTC. I'm going to leave the video right there. Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. If you found it useful and informative, smash the like button. If you're new to the channel, subscribe. Don't forget to join us down in Discord. And guys, I'll catch you all in the next one.
We are not financial advisors, and none of what we have communicated verbally or in writing here should be considered as financial advice. It is not. Do your own research before investing in any digital asset or affiliate offers, and understand that investing in any crypto is risky. If you do, you need to be prepared to lose your entire investment. This video is for information and entertainment purposes only. All our videos are strictly personal opinions. Please make sure you do your own research and never take our opinions for financial guidance. There are multiple strategies, and not all strategies fit all people. Our videos are not financial advice.